Welcome guys back to another video. Behind me you can see a 2 Series BMW 216D, which means it has the diesel engine, the 3-cylinder B37 engine, and it has EGR fault, or it came with an EGR fault. This is the fault code that we are getting. So initially the owner, the customer, told us that the car had EGR fault. He took it to the BMW dealership, and then the dealership done a recall on the EGR valve. They replaced it allegedly, and after that the check engine light came back with the EGR fault code. But how is that possible that the recall had been done on the part, BMW done it, fixed it, replaced it, and the same fault code comes back? It's quite unusual, to be honest. So then we called our friends at the BMW dealership, a different dealership, to check if a recall has been done on the car, and they confirmed, or they told us, it hasn't had any recalls. What then says or suspect that it maybe had like a software update or something like that. So after that, then called the owner to ask him what exactly happened. So he said, as he told us the first time, he took it because of the fault, the check engine light and the EGR fault. He took it to the BMW dealership. They done the recall, so the same story. And then after the fault came back, he took it back, and they said everything is fine with the car, nothing is wrong with it. Then he took it to his one of his friends who actually works on cars. He said he can't fix it, or he doesn't know what is wrong with it. So the car ended up with us, and now we are checking what is wrong with it. So basically we removed the EGR valve. Let me show you guys how that looks. Here is the old EGR valve. It is separated, the motor, the electric motor is separated from the valve actually. So have a look at it and let me show you where it is located. It goes there on top of the EGR cooler. There is a couple bits that we need to remove in order to access the EGR valve itself, and unfortunately this engine has a lot of plastic. Now I'm going to ask Dan to demonstrate and explain what we think is wrong with the EGR valve itself.
So basically there is an electric motor here which moves the EGR up and down. But we took it apart just to inspect if there is anything happened or not. And what we noticed, when I push the EGR up and down, there is nothing happens. But the electric motor should be able to move it reasonably easy, and it moves quite easy. But when you install that EGR, you need to make sure you plug it in first, and you, with a scan tool, you put it in installation position, which what it does basically, it moves it back a tiny bit, and that's how you insert it into the EGR cooler, and then you bolt it down with 2 bolts, and then with a scan tool you carry out the test plan, which basically locates its position, and it goes fully up and fully down, and that's how it knows how it's located. If you skip this step, that's what's gonna happen pretty much. Anyway, that's what we think it happened, because we have a fault code with short to ground, and that motor is basically faulty in terms of functionality. When we check the live data, we've seen this motor is not able to move it. But as soon as we disconnected it from the EGR, the electric motor spins. So what I think personally, it has a high resistance, or it's just struggling to move the EGR valve. I don't know, it came faulty or it became faulty because it wasn't installed correctly.
But also we have to say or tell, it is not a cheap part or like a very bad quality part. It is actually Pierburg. So the part is Pierburg part, and if Dan pulls that sticker down, you can see or not see something what is missing from there, and that is the BMW logo, because we are going to replace it with the original BMW part, and there you can see the BMW logo in the exactly same location, which is covered with the Pierburg sticker. Here is the part number from BMW. If you want, So basically what we're going to do, as I said, we're going to replace that, but we'll try to fit it the proper way as it should be. So with the scan tool, we put it in installation position, fit it to the EGR cooler, and then tell the engine or the ECU with the scan tool that the procedure has been carried out, assemble the car back together, start it, and see what happens. We are going to install now the new EGR valve. The EGR valve is already connected with the connector, the new one, and now we're going to set it to the installation position with the scan tool. As we were trying to install the EGR valve, we noticed something. So as you can see, when the cable is moving or the wiring is moving, the EGR valve is moving. Let me show you that on the scan tool. So we are at the installation position, which is that 30%, and if Dan is gonna move the wiring, you see the numbers are fluctuating and changing, and that is triggering the movement. So the wiring is faulty as well.
That's why we had the short to ground fault. It wasn't in the EGR, the problem was in the wiring, which is now it's clear. So we need to open up the wiring loom and check where it's shorting.
So as you could see, guys, maybe the EGR valve went faulty because of the wiring issue, the first EGR valve I mean. So that's why it was struggling to open and close the EGR valve because of that wiring issue. So when we were installing it, we put that into installation position, and as we did that, we noticed that not the degrees but the percentages were changing. So 30% should be when it's in installation position, but it was changing as we moved the wiring. So we decided that we're not fitting obviously this EGR at this point because we need to fix first the wiring. Once that is done, we can fit easily the EGR valve to the EGR cooler and the car should be good. We have found the issue, guys. As you can see, this blue wire is broken or snapped, stripped. Obviously it wasn't broken or it wasn't detached, but as we moved it, it became loose, detached. So now we're going to fix this one and hopefully the EGR will then work properly. We fitted the EGR and also we did reset the adaptation, then took it for 80-mile test drive. He took the car home and then back to the workshop, and according to the owner, around after 10 miles, if you delete the fault code for the EGR, it comes back. That did not happen, so then drove it 80 miles back and here, and it did not come back. So that we can assume it was successful. We followed the procedure and everything went straight ahead, like it just worked. But it has a weird noise coming from the engine bay. Let's listen to it. Hopefully you will be able to hear that on the video, on the camera. Also you can see the engine is shaking and it is making that rattling noise. Well, the owner asked us to sort that one out as well, but that is going to be in another video. So guys, thank you very much for watching. See you soon in the very next video. Until then, take care and bye bye.